So Apple announced their new MacBook lineup, which is the MacBook Neo, and it comes with 8 GB of RAM and starts with 256 GB of storage. I have used my M1 MacBook Air with only 8 GB of RAM for 5 years, and I used it for my computer science degree. Well, 8 GB was surprisingly enough for me, considering I was running Xcode, Flutter, Android Studio, Docker and stuff like that. Even opening a bunch of tabs is light work for these machines. So basically you have two options for the MacBook Neo. So first off, there's a budget version for $599 US. This only comes with 256 GB of storage with no Touch ID. And the other one is priced at $699 US. This comes with 512 GB and with Touch ID. macOS handles memory pretty efficiently. This is also because Apple uses something called unified memory instead of RAM. This means the RAM is literally built into the chip itself. So because the RAM, SSD and CPU are working very close with each other, MacBooks are pretty good at swapping memory between the SSD and the RAM. This is also why you can't add more RAM or storage like most Windows laptops do. And also this only uses an iPhone chip. This is the A18 Pro chip, which was used for the iPhone 16 Pro lineup. Is this a problem? Probably not. The chip in the Neo actually has way higher single-core performance than the M1. The M1 scores around 2400 in Geekbench, while the A18 Pro absolutely decimates the M1 by scoring around 3500. And it considerably surpasses multi-core performance as well. The M1 scores around 8500, while the A18 Pro still wins with around 8600. So now that we have talked about the CPU, let's move on to the GPU. The M1 should have a better GPU, right? Well, you will be wrong. The M1 only scores around 30,600, while the A18 Pro chip scores around 31,300. Now let's talk about the neural core for AI performance. The Neo is just a no-brainer when it comes to this. The M1's neural core can process 11 trillion operations per second. Let me tell you that the Neo actually processes 35 trillion operations per second. This obliterates the M1 when it comes to neural core performance. But should you really buy a MacBook Neo over a MacBook Air? Because it clearly outperforms the M1, right? Well, now let's talk about the actual hardware that you physically interact with every day. First off, the MacBook Neo does not come with a Force Touch trackpad. A Force Touch trackpad does not physically click when you press on it. Instead, it gives you a haptic feedback which feels like a press in real life. This gives you different feedback depending on how much pressure you exert on the trackpad. According to Dave2D, the MacBook Neo trackpad is not as precise and sometimes does not register clicks when you click too quickly. This might not be a big deal for you unless you are a power user. Both versions of the MacBook Neo does not feature a backlit keyboard. The backlit keyboard is the system that lights up your keyboard in the dark. And also you don't get Touch ID with the base MacBook Neo. This is only available in the higher tier option. When it comes to the camera, you get a 1080p camera on the MacBook Neo. With the M1, you only get a 720p camera. When it comes to speakers, the MacBook Neo speakers are relatively worse compared to the MacBook Airs, according to reviews. MacBooks are generally excellent in battery life, so it's refreshing to see that even the MacBook Neo gets up to 16 hours of battery life. The M1 Air, however, gets up to 18 hours of battery life. So should you buy the MacBook Neo? I would absolutely recommend buying the Neo over the M1 MacBook Air. The M4 MacBook Air is also an excellent deal from Apple, but if your budget is for the MacBook Neo, then yes, of course, you should get the MacBook Neo. I would not call the MacBook Neo underpowered by any means, considering how well the M1 MacBook Air performed throughout all these years. So there you have it. That's what I think about the MacBook Neo, and thank you so much for watching until the end.